the righteous, the wicked, the proper, the improper, the good, the evil, the saved, the damned. These categorizations are not fundamental to existence. These categorizations are the result of creating opposing forces within ourselves, playing out a game of tug-of-war that can never be resolved, because these polarities require tension in order for these extremes of consciousness to be sustained. Spiritual growth is often categorized as an ascent or descent to a higher state of consciousness or a lower state. This is embodied within the archetypes of heaven and hell, God and the devil, angels and demons, devas and asuras. These categorizations display the product of eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, meaning any judgment that comes through the lens of two opposing forces that require each other to exist is stepping away from wholeness. Good and evil are two sides of the same dualistic coin, a false dichotomy. On this journey of expansion, we are learning to move past these fragmented perspectives. Good and evil, after all, creates a battle that can never be won. This type of comparison sucks the joy out of life because it sets up an invisible mental enemy, unnecessary division. And at the core, there is really no division between anything at all. There is only one thing, one reality, one experience which dances through the lens of infinitely different roles, directions, masks, actions, and personas. What if we could transcend the oppositions of this or that? What if we defined existence as inherently harmonious without the tug or pull of higher and lower concepts? What if we lived each day without trying to tip the scale on either end of dualism, with the full knowingness that everything is already perfect? Remembering who you are at the core flies in the face of everything you've been told, because it's not a mental process. The mind will never resolve itself through itself. No problem can ever be resolved through creating labyrinths for the problem to flow through. What I'm trying to say is, if we use solely logic to figure out our place in the universe, how to act and interact within and without, ignoring intuition, then we end up in the sort of mental gymnastics dualism offers, trying to solve ourselves through grasping to cerebral concepts. The heart, on the other hand, is the 0 point. We call it the singularity because it is the source, the one consciousness emanating outward, projecting the one into the interconnected dream time we're currently inhabiting. It's so common to think that life is happening to us that we get stuck in the mental through giving into illusion. In doing so, we detach from the present moment, conjuring up ways to solve this or that, daydreaming about these concepts as universal truths, creating a sort of subconscious overlord akin to God or an all-powerful deity. And this is perhaps where the concept of an external deity or a judgmental force originated, in maintaining concepts of good and evil, of right and wrong, of pure and impure. These cognitive concepts have no basis in the present moment, where nothing can be determined using binary measurements, where everything is a full breath and song playing itself as color within your own dream. Every moment is what it is, and to dissect it more is to do consciousness itself a disservice. Life is but a dream. That song, Row, Row, Row Your Boat, it's describing to us the wisdom which is automatic. which is inherent, which flows effortlessly when we are not holding ourselves hostage, keeping ourselves a prisoner of the mind. We should row our boats, navigate ourselves gently down the stream, and merrily engaged in the journey of life without worrying about falling into the pits of our own creation. Flow state is what happens when one sheds the illusions of the energy extraction matrix, when one takes time to hold space for their emptiness and renewal. Flow state is what happens when we rest on the inner knowingness that everything is already done and healed. There is nowhere to be or go, nothing to become or dismantle. We never left that perfected whole state many of us so desperately are aiming to channel and step back into. If you've watched my recent videos, you're aware of the idea that this is a temporary holding space, an elaborate dream designed to facilitate our purging. From this angle, we can start looking at this matrix differently. This is, in fact, a very safe place to unload our baggage and find ourselves again. Each of us are reflected this inner baggage, our deficits, and our growths through the wonderful maze of time. As most of us know by now, time is an illusion. The matrix itself is a temporary holographically constructed timeline in which a finite number of players have funneled into in order to experiment with illusion. That's the point of all of this, illusion. But the thing about illusion is it has a beginning and end. Illusion is here to serve a purpose. So let's take this concept and put it up against dualism. If emotional states and reactions like shame, aggression, fear, anxiety dissolve through reclaiming the heart space and taking solace in that eternal presence, then that means the only real reality is that which uses the heart to filter through. This is centeredness, leading us to yet another simple but powerful truth. Anything which is based in disharmony is a figment, an aspect of temporary consciousness. Every disharmonious thought is a lie, a program, a remnant of code. And when I say this, stay in the heart, I understand how cliche it sounds. It sounds elusive and like pretty standard spiritual advice. But it's this simplicity which I feel like is absent from most of our psyches. We are heart-based beings. Children who are still very much connected to their intuition don't have to reason their play, their dance, their song, their interaction. All of this just comes out as natural expression. However, children are eventually brought up to plot their moves, to stamp time on their days, to conform to a seemingly parasitic system, to give into the master-slave paradigm. So most of us are shell-shocked by all of this, and this is why going back to the heart can feel silly or too simple, because it goes against the processes that have aimed to invert our natural intuitive rhythm. The heart is that pure essence. It's that beautiful emerald green energy, which is without as the northern lights. I mean, look at this. This is not bound to any rigidity or realm of despair. This is the dancing breath of the goddess, of my heart and of your heart. It is this singularity which transcends all of time and space. Everything is in motion through consciousness, moving in and out through every breath taken, words spoken, and feeling felt. There is no pause between the moment and the translation of the moment. The age-old question, what came first, the chicken or the egg? It sounds funny, but the answer accordingly is neither. There is no cause and effect. There is just beautiful oneness And because this holographic overlay is designed to create the illusion of time, we can disconnect from the as within, so without principle to fragmentize into causes and effects, thereby playing out the polarity that this matrix allows. But we are not bound by polarity, and more, many of us are waking up to the perils of such a limited perspective. If there is no subject and object, everything is one single movement. And that means you're where you're meant to be, always, in all ways.